Welcome to Evangelicalish, where we discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of the American Evangelical Church, deconstruction, faith, and God's love through it all. Join us for these episodes live on our Evangelicalish YouTube page on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, and 6 o'clock Pacific. Let's journey together. Welcome to
Well, hello and welcome into Evangelicalish. Good to see everybody. I am Jeremy.
And I am April.
And we are super glad to be hanging out with each and every single one of you tonight as per the normal Wednesday night. You may have noticed that obviously things look a little bit different. The Evangelicalish logo has changed. We've got exciting things coming in the next several days, weeks that we're really pumped to share with you. And, there's going to be an in-person meetup. There's going to be opportunities for, more deeper community and like all of those things. So all of that's coming around the bend. So if you could do us a favor, like, comment, share on this stream, and then also go subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. And on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, give us 5 stars and let everybody know why they should be listening to Evangelicalish. I love the fact that people are saying the ish got a lot bigger.
It did.
That was definitely very intentional. There's no doubt.
Like, we are way more the ish than the evangelical.
we have slowly progressed out of evangelical to ish. But anyway, so hope y'all like the new look. I hope you're excited about the new things coming down the pike. We are definitely excited about it. We've spent a lot of time chatting about, what's coming up and how to build this community, how to grow, and how to empower each and every single one of us who are a part of this community. So without any further ado, we've got a lot to get into tonight. It has been an absolutely insane week, just a couple of weeks really in our country and around the world. And so definitely want to get into that. Tonight, Paul is away doing some baseball. I guess one of the final baseball games.
Doing that baseball
thing. So with his son who's graduating from high school. So tonight we have Elizabeth Riley, Reverend Elizabeth Riley. She is a pastor and reverend. She is Episcopalian and she is from the Pacific Northwest. Super glad to have her on. I'm a huge fan of her content and some of the things that she shares and just the thoughts that she has. So, Elizabeth, we're really excited to have you on tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here and a big fan of both of your content as well.
That's lies. We're all fans of April. Like, I get that. Like, we're definitely all fans of April here, but my content is just a ranting, angry white dude. But anyway,
I just rant with style.
Yeah,
let's make it fancy.
And I just rant. So anyway, super glad to have you on. I know I'm excited to kind of hear your perspective, and there's been a lot going on in the world, certainly. And so we'll dive into that for sure.
Yeah. Before we get into it, Elizabeth, why don't you tell us kind of briefly a little bit of your background, evangelical or not, and introduce yourself.
Absolutely. I am the Reverend Elizabeth Riley. I am currently serving as the rector of Emmanuel Episcopal Church on Mercer Island, just outside of Seattle. I am from Alaska, born and raised. I lived there for 18 years and was ordained out of the Diocese of Alaska. I come from an interfaith family. So my dad was Jewish, my sister is Jewish, my mom and I are Christian. We had a really interesting opportunity to choose our faith as kids, which there's more about on my TikTok. And now I'm getting to do a lot of interesting interfaith work and now digital evangelism and rage praying on TikTok, and now getting to talk with you all, which is just such a thrill.
Yeah, I love the rage praying. I feel like that is definitely a needed thing and relevant. And it does look like Jeremy got raptured. That's
no, sorry.
Returned to us.
I apologize. The Lord sent me back. I had a tiny 4-year-old who was, protesting bedtime. So, these things happen.
I get it.
Yes, that happens. Oh, so Elizabeth just introduced herself. And
yeah, please catch me up.
yes, while you're after, you don't know what's going on down here. So Elizabeth just introduced herself, which I would love to hear more, on another time. So originally we were going to have her on to kind of talk about what it's like to be a female pastor and the kind of opposition that she's faced, or just what her battles have been.
And we had talked about like really wanting to give voice to that, right? Like, because we have a lot of mutual friends that we have gained through TikTok or other platforms that are incredible woman pastors from all over the country. And so we really just wanted to talk about, and give voice to the struggle and the beauty of that, because it is something that's incredible. And I think very much at the heart of who Jesus is. But unfortunately, I think kind of the world had a little bit different plans, obviously with everything going on, and really honestly, it is just right. We need to talk about these things, and I would even venture to say, kind of just inside this community, those who download the podcast, those who listen live, those of us who are hosting, like, we just kind of need each other right now, because it is a challenging time for sure.
Yeah, I know today I had my daughter's kindergarten graduation, and she goes to a public elementary school locally. And there were several times I thought, like, just how many parents didn't wake up with their kids today alive. And
that number is growing.
Yeah, it's just so heavy. I remember when Sandy Hook happened, was that 2011 or 2000? Yeah, 2011.
11 or 12.
Yeah, so a little over 10 years ago. That was when I flipped on the gun issue, because I was like, okay, this just doesn't make sense anymore. I mean, I was still Republican, but I was like, gun, like, we don't need, just like, at some point we got to do something. And here we are over a decade later, and another elementary school. Like, we're just right back. Nothing changed.
Well, and I think that segues really well in our first topic, April, about, obviously we just want to talk about, what happened in Texas and gun laws in general. Right. I saw an interesting statistic this week, that was shared by either World Health Organization or somebody, very credible source. Like, it wasn't like, freaking Newsmax, but I saw that, around that the United States since 2009 had 288 mass shootings. Or school shootings, excuse me, not just mass shootings, school shootings, 288 different instances where somebody had carried a gun into a school and shot someone. The next closest was like 2.
Wow.
The next, like, 50 countries combined didn't equal the number of school shootings that we've had in the United States. Republicans want to scream all the time about how terrible and evil and wicked and mean and nasty the Middle East is. Afghanistan has had like 2 or 3 school shootings since 2009.
In April, you say, like, nothing has changed except that we're more desensitized to it.
There it is.
We're more used to it. The number of videos I've seen of parents talking to their kids, and kids are used to this now. They expect it. I remember Columbine and it feeling like, how in the world could that happen? To high school having lockdowns as a normal practice, active shooter drills as a normal practice. And now I think most kids expect that's going to happen at some point in their lifetime.
Yeah. And Megan raises a good point. This was something else I read today. Megan Williams in the comments says guns surpassed cars as the biggest killer of children in the US in the last couple of years. And that is devastating to think about. But you're exactly right, Elizabeth. Like, I remember Columbine, and I remember how heavy that was for all of us as a nation. It was a Murrah bombing moment for those of us in Oklahoma City, right? It was a 9/11 moment. Like, it was one of those things where you're like, I remember where I was and what was happening the day that we were watching the news about the Columbine shooting. Now it's just the next thing on the news.
Yeah.
And that is, yeah, go ahead.
Buffalo just happened a week ago. Literally on the just like that's what we talked about last week on the show. We talked about the shooting in school shootings are terrible.
The shooting inside of the Asian church in Southern California.
There's like a mass shooting. It feels like almost weekly now.
Yeah.
Last night I did a live prayer service on TikTok, and one of the things I pulled from Episcopal Church Resources was a litany of listing out mass shootings. It went on for pages. And reading the names of these places where it's like, oh, right, that one. It was horrific to be reminded while reading a litany of a mass shooting that is just lumped in with all of these because it's happened so frequently. I did not like where my heart had landed and in holding the memories of all of this.
Well, it almost feels like as just a survival mechanism, like your heart almost has to callous because it's happening so much. And that's why I try to remind myself, like I can't ever stop caring about this. Yeah.
I think we need to feel each one in the rawest way because it challenges us to do the most, right? I think that, Steve Kerr, the head coach for the Golden State Warriors, probably put it best yesterday afternoon. Like, sorry, nothing's happened with our team. There's nothing new with basketball. And he just went on a tirade that I thought was, and I say tirade in a positive way. He absolutely hit the nail on the head. He's like, look, there's legislation to fix this problem today, but we have senators like Mitch McConnell who are more obsessed with their power and with what they have than they are fixing the problem. They are waging they are mortgaging the lives of our children on behalf of their control, and that is absolutely asinine to me, and it can no longer stand. Like, this has to be. It should have been the last straw 20 years ago, but it absolutely has to be the last straw today.
Yeah, I don't know when enough is enough. Enough should have been Columbine. Or before, and I think the thing that is also maddening on top of it is all the people like that will push back on it. First of all, they're pushing abortion laws. They think if you legalize abortion, that's going to stop it. But then they say, no, if you make guns harder to get, like, people are still just going to get them, and like it doesn't actually do anything. But here's the thing. Like, I literally would do anything if I could stop the next elementary school shooting from happening. And we have not tried gun reform, or there are things that we could try. If it doesn't work, we're at least trying to stop it instead of just being like, well, that's just what happens. Sucks to suck.
Guns don't kill people. People kill people.
Right? But our votes are the ones putting these people in office who are keeping these guns in our lives.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't want to, it's all of us. We have to remember we are the ones with the power to make any sort of change.
Well, and that's the reason why I think it's so imperative that we speak out, we speak loudly, we speak consistently until, we see major change. Because this cannot continue. We were talking about earlier how that guns have surpassed automobiles or car accidents as the major killer of children in our country now. Think about all of the things you have to do to get a driver's license, right? Mm-hmm. You have to go through driver's ed. You have to then go and take a written test. And then you have to have a permit for, a certain amount of time and be monitored by someone who's licensed. Then you have to spend another, so you spend that 6 months or whatever it is, that amount of time. Then you go take a physical test, right? Mm-hmm. And some states have even started to implement like retesting over time, especially like with senior citizens and things like that, right? Mm-hmm. With a gun, you turn like even if it's done the complete legal, like whatever way, you go to a reputable gun dealer who does the background check, right? You walk in, as long as you're 18, you can buy a long gun. If you're 21, you can buy a handgun. You sign up, you don't have a criminal record, they'll hand you that gun as long as you hand them cash. That's
but
it.
women definitely can't make decisions about their bodies.
Yeah, right.
No. I mean, that kid was 18 and I read that he got his gun legally.
Yeah.
It wasn't on the black market.
Because he can. It's not black market. He got his gun legally. I grew up in a very conservative family. On my 18th birthday, my dad let me take the day off school. He took me to lunch and we went and bought a shotgun. That's what we did for my 18th birthday here in Oklahoma. So that's how easy it is. And I put my name on the registry form. They ran the background check on me. I didn't have any felonies. I didn't have any issues. So they handed me a shotgun as an 18-year-old kid. So, and there was no, like, do you have any mental health issues? Do you have, like, there is none of those questions. Like, that's not a thing. You walk in, you have money on a debit card, or you can write a check and you can pass a background check. Here's your gun. And on top of that, if you go to a gun show or buy a gun privately, in most states, it's still legal for you to buy those without a background check because you are protected by a private purchase.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just buy a gun, just randomly have it, no problem. And so we go through all of these things to maintain a driver's license, to do 100 other things, right? Like driving is not the only thing that we have to go through testing for, right? But guns, you can just have one.
You have to be 25 to rent a car.
Yes. Yeah. I couldn't rent a car on my honeymoon. I do remember that.
But 18's fine to have an assault rifle.
Yes. Yes. You can buy an AR-15. Yeah. Amazing.
And I think it's really interesting to look at the responsibility of the church and for Christians, for all of us, to be speaking about this issue. I know I'm not in the South. I'm in the Pacific Northwest. It's very not religious here. But still, Christianity is painted with the brush of the evangelical church, of the right wing. People are still shocked to hear Christians speaking out in support of gun reform. It's shocking to me that this isn't said more loudly in the Christian church. This feels like a no-brainer for Christians.
Right. That's the thing that I've always been confused with, especially growing up. I grew up very evangelical, very conservative. And I remember like kind of wondering why guns were a Christian issue, because it's very much like they treat the Constitution almost like it's sacred, and the Second Amendment like it was.
Can you explain it to me? Like, what is, because I went to very hippy-dippy liberal churches, liberal parents. So like, how do they talk about guns in a evangelical church that's so compelling?
So I think it's twofold. One, there's a lot of indoctrination that goes in that everyone's just for guns. So you are also for guns because everyone else around you is, and you just kind of go with it. I think there's a persecution kink in evangelical circles. They think like the Antichrist is going to take over at some point, or at some point they're going to come for all the Christians. So they need to be armed and ready to defend. They're very scared of socialism and communism. And like, I remember when Obama was elected, I knew people that legit thought he was the Antichrist and were arming themselves. Locally here, when Biden won the election, all the ammo was out of stock because people were prepared for some kind of war to break out, that they thought that Biden was in cahoots with China, and that China was going to take over. So they were arming themselves for this war. So there's a lot of conspiracies around it of why they need these guns. There's like, and in most conservative evangelical circles, your political views are very intertwined with your theology. And so, it's like, it doesn't make sense. Like, being so far removed from evangelicalism now, like I can see the blaring errors in that belief. But when you're in it, Like the gun thing is like, you don't touch that. There's also misinformation because they think gun reform is the slippery slope. And then they're going to take all your guns away because then that's when the socialists are going to take over. It's very slippery slopey and not based in any facts. I don't know if that answered your question. That's my best guess.
I mean, I ask in part because like I don't think things would get solved by all of us continuing to polarize more and more and more. And like there is a part of me that wants to have radical hope that like the world can change and people can shift their ideas. And I mean, this podcast is sort of a example of that, right? Like people's ideologies can shift and change. And so like understanding what has compelled people to that place, I don't know, gives me some hope that maybe we can understand how to compel them away from.
Well, it's fear. Because I've already seen people use Ukraine as an example to talk against the people that are calling for gun reform right now. They're like, well, good thing Ukraine didn't have gun reform. You know, like that's a completely different issue. And so there's just so much.
It's not a completely, they did have gun reform though. They have gun laws in Ukraine that we don't have here.
Right. That's just what I'm saying. They're like, the reason why it's good to have guns here is for when Russia or some country comes and invades us, because
but what a stupid like understand, like I've said multiple times, like you know, you carrying a gun to protect yourself, you know, well, when the government becomes tyrannical, I'm going to defend myself. If the government becomes tyrannical and decides that you're a threat, they will nuke your house from the sky and you will never see it coming. That's the bottom line. And if Russia decides to invade the United States or, you know, declare war on the United States military has it under control. They got plenty of firearms, plenty of firepower for everybody and their dog. So you carrying around your stupid little tiny AR-15, and that's the other thing. What is the obsession? Okay, and as a gun person, like who understands guns, what is the obsession with the AR-15? Like, I do not understand. Like, I can't even get into that.
I've literally seen
off the rail.
No, I've seen an unironic picture of white Jesus holding an AR-15.
Yeah. Yeah, they're obsessed with the AR-15, you know, and it's just like the whole thing is it just reeks of Christian nationalism, white nationalism. You know, I mean, it's like
wonder that nobody trusts Christians,
right?
All of us with this brush. And when people say, you know, I love your message, but I can never go back to church. I'm like, I get it. Like, I do not blame you because Christianity has caused so much harm and damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what was I going to say? Oh, I had a thought and it just left me. That's my mom brain.
It just happens.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I had one lady that she's a conservative woman who tweeted after, like, the day it happened, that the gun control commentary after a shooting is insufferable. And this lady's got a Jesus Saves banner as her profile picture on Twitter. I'm like, the fact that like you're complaining over people talking about guns instead of like the kids that died. Mm-hmm. These are the same people that hashtag save the children.
Yeah, Jesus saves who?
Right. Well, and so growing up, back to kind of the why they're all for guns, it was one of the first things that I kind of started questioning of my beliefs. Because when I read Jesus's teaching, Jesus is not for violence, like at all. Turn the other cheek. Like, you know, it didn't make any sense. And so like, that's kind of what made me start questioning. Like, I don't know how much Christ following a lot of conservative evangelicals are actually doing.
So that ended up being an important part of your deconstruction. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was like one of the
just one of the bricks that fell. Dee said in the chat, ask Jeremy, isn't that one of the guns the military used? I think this is why it's popular. It matches the M4. It looks like the M4, but it's a different gun. So, yes, but the military feel and vibe is why it's popular. And the other thing is like, here in Oklahoma, in very conservative areas, like we have local sheriffs in the area and sheriff's departments creating posses so that regular, civilians off the street can join a militia with their AR-15s and all the guns that they tote around, So now we've got a bunch of untrained, and I'm just going to say it, like, and if you get offended, feel bad for yourself. Now we have a bunch of untrained rednecks with itchy booger hooks on bang bang switches, right? Running around like vigilantes. And that in and of itself is a problem too. And, this defense of, well, we need, the good people with guns are going to stop the bad people with guns. Go tell that to 19 kids' families in Texas tonight.
There was an armed guard there too.
Yeah.
At the school.
So go talk to them about how everybody and their gun rights are the reason that your kids are dead. Like you cannot.
Yeah, the good guys with the gun have not been pulling their weight.
Nope, because you can't.
Yeah.
So
Michael in the chat said that he just found out that people on Facebook are already saying that the shooting in Texas is a hoax.
Oh, good.
I remember similar things around Sandy Hook that conservatives were saying it was a hoax. Like anything but to actually try to solve the problem.
It's absolutely horrendous. And that's the sort of thing that drives me into places of despair of like, how is this the world that we're in? And that's the tension I find that I'm living in a lot with my faith in all of this, is having any sort of hope that anything we can do can make it any different. While saying like, wow, this is really shitty.
Yeah. No, well, and that's interesting you say that. I posted a video because I was like, a lot of, and I know April, you do this as well. And well, I think we all three do this. Like, a lot of our content comes from current events, right? Mm-hmm. I just didn't know which one to grab yesterday because it was like, we had the situation this weekend, and we'll get into some of this, the pastor in Indiana, abusing a 16-year-old. We had, the situation with the Southern Baptist Convention, which don't even get me started, and covering up abuse after abuse, hundreds of abuses. And then, then we have this school shooting on Monday, and I didn't know which one to grab. So I just kind of took a piece of each one. And I was like, it's really funny that this is the pro-life crowd, that is saying, well, we need to keep our guns. Well, we need to pray over these abusers. Well, we need to make sure not to harm the gospel. We need to keep these abusers safe. What is the thing you're always saying, April? Like, don't touch the Lord's anointed, or, whatever mindset they have. And I called it what it was. It's bullshit. Yeah. It's bullshit. I don't want to hear you're pro-life. I don't want to hear about you. You want to protect lives, and lives are sacred. When you're allowing our children to get gunned down in school. Bullshit.
Yeah. And if that doesn't happen, they're potentially going to be abused in their houses of faith.
Yeah, exactly. They are not.
What are our choices here?
They are not safe at church or at school.
Mm-mm.
Like, let that sink in. They are either going to be physically and sexually abused, or they're just going to be shot. Mm. And that is the reality that we live in right now in the United States. And so, I don't want to hear about your pro-life. Like, you want to bang the war drum and tell women that they should never be able to have an abortion, and you want to take reproductive rights away. And at the same time, you're screaming, build a wall. We need more guns, and let's protect the pastors who are raping kids. That's insane to me. Mm-hmm. So, and what's even more ridiculous is that I had Christians in the comments talking about that they couldn't trust me. They no longer, I'm unfollowing you because how dare a pastor say bullshit? If that's the thing you're offended about, you are missing the entire mark.
Yep. I've found myself in the last few days, especially since Sunday. Sunday was when the SBC report and the Indiana pastor broke the
Yeah.
Texas shooting yesterday. Buffalo 10 days ago, whenever that was. It's just so much. Ukraine still is going on. Like, we don't even talk about the fact that that country is still being invaded because there's just so much heaviness. And Elizabeth, you mentioned earlier about rage prayers. Did
Yeah.
you write
I
one?
do have one for us tonight.
Because I think there's
We
like,
need it.
yeah, because there's just something really heavy heaviness is in the air. And I think a lot of us are feeling that. And even though we make videos and we call out harm and abuse, sometimes it feels like we're just screaming into the void.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to sit with that when I feel so out, like where I don't have any control over a lot of really bad things that are happening. So I don't know if you're feeling up for leading
I
us
would
in
love to
prayer now.
rage pray. And I wrote one to kind of bridge the two topics that we have tonight. And they really do feed into each other. And for those who are new to my rage praying, I usually light a candle. Sometimes I'm doing this with silly music, and sometimes I'm doing this from a really sincere place. But I believe our anger can be transformative. It can be destructive if we sit in it and if we stew in it, but if we give it some air and some life to see where it calls us. I love a line, and I forget who it's from, but from A Blessing, where it says, "Make no peace with oppression." And so our rage prayers, or my rage prayers, are meant to do that and to invite all of you into your own rage prayers and being angry at God and the world and all of it. So in my tradition, we invite to prayer. Our invitation to prayer is, "The Lord be with you and also with you." Let us pray. Holy One, we have failed. Your beloved children have suffered. Violence has torn through our world time and again, stealing lives, stealing innocence, stealing dignity, stealing wholeness. The world is shattered around us as we face the multitude of ways in which young lives are ripped apart by sin and violence. We repent of the multitude of ways in which we have contributed to this violence through silence, greed, and our own self-preservation. We repent of the times when we have chosen a path of ease over a path of justice. We repent of the pain caused by those who bear your holy name. We hold now the sacred stories of those abused by your church. We hold now the memories of beloved children and teachers senselessly killed. We bear witness to these pains, these losses. Be with those whose lives have been utterly torn apart. Surround them with your unceasing love, and surround us as we each face our own grief, anger, our memories of trauma, and our fear of the future. Move your Spirit in and through us, that we may know now and always the ways in which you draw us together. Strengthen us through our relationships and our common call to peace, that we may hold the hope of the world as it can be. In this sacred community, may we find strength and passion to continue the march towards justice. In the name of the Creator, the Redeemer, and the Sustainer. Amen.
Amen. That was beautiful.
Yeah. We appreciate that. Thank you for taking time to write that for us and to share that with us.
Thank you for letting me share it.
Okay, I think we'll go to a mid-roll, and on the other side, we'll talk about SBC. Another fun one. All right, we'll be
Follow
back.
us to catch all the latest content and encouragement. You can check us out on TikTok by following @Evangelicalish or subscribe on YouTube by searching Evangelicalish. That's Evangelical with an ISH. And don't forget to catch our live streams each and every single Wednesday night on YouTube at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, and 6 Pacific. And now back to the Evangelicalish podcast. Well, welcome back into the Evangelicalish podcast. Glad that y'all are with us this evening. I am Jeremy, that pastor from Oklahoma, and as always, I am joined by my friend, my sister from another state that I've never actually shared the same air with, April Joy. And then tonight, our guest is Elizabeth Riley, Reverend Elizabeth Riley, excuse me. And so super glad that she is with us. By the way, can I just say the clerical garb is always on fleek. Like you are always wearing something that is fantastic. Like if I could pull it off the way you could, I would wear a collar, but I can't. So here I am. I wear an Under Armour polo every week, and this is going to have to be what it is.
You know, we might just one day, if we get to share air, we can have a glam up. You too can rock the collar. Fear not.
Fear not.
Awesome.
The Lord is with you. Yeah, it's so good. Oh man, super excited about that.
Clergy friends. Your clergy wear.
You know, so Joseph Yu, which is another friend of mine. Yeah, he's a friend of Evangelicalish as well. Another Episcopalian pastor, and he's absolutely amazing. He always wears his collar as well, and I me as a non-denominational pastor these days, I'm just kind of jealous. Like, maybe I just need to get in the game a little bit. But anyway,
throw one on. If I don't wear one, I look like I'm 16. So it's really just I have to age up somehow.
Yeah, this is the only way. Yeah, for sure. So as most of you may have heard, the Southern Baptist Convention in the news again for abuse scandals again. They have continued to find themselves time and time again. NPR sharing a story yesterday talking about that the leaders Southern Baptist Executive Committee plans to release a secret list of accused sex abusers. That list is said to be about 700 abusers long, and that they have been keeping this list secret, and that now they feel it is time to let this list come to light. And I have mentioned to y'all that I have friends, not just acquaintances, but people that I have known, gone to school with, been in real communication with, because I grew up Southern Baptist. The first part of my career was Southern Baptist. That are on that executive committee with the SBC. Also, let us not forget that the SBC is the second largest Christian denomination, or second largest Christian organization in the United States, only behind Catholicism. The SBC is gigantic, and it has a major impact, not only in our voting and in our culture, but it has a major impact in, the standards that are set for other religious organizations as well. So I want to hear y'all's perspective about, because quite frankly, I am just kind of enraged. And I'm not sure if I've got a real clear thing to say through this process, only because my anger is probably not at a place where I can put good thoughts into the universe, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because, I was having this conversation with my wife, and, we were like, we have people that we know personally that we feel like should be in prison because of this, because they were accomplices. They weren't the abusers, but they knew about the abusers and did not report.
Well, they had a database, didn't they, with a list of names?
Yes, 700 names. And so as a former Southern Baptist, as someone who has, personal connection in that game, I find it really difficult to form any kind of coherent, usable sentences for this other than "fuck y'all."
You remember last year? I think it was last summer when the executive committee voted against having this outside investigation done, despite all of the messengers voting for it or saying that that's what they wanted. And then eventually there was so much backlash from them saying they weren't going to have an outside investigation that they eventually did, but now we know why, because they are all implicated.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So not only did they cover up the abuse, they tried to cover up their cover up.
They tried to cover up the cover up. That's the nail on the head right there. So I kind of want to hear both of your thoughts on this. Not that y'all are any less enraged. I would never say that my rage is any more so than yours, but I've just really struggled to form coherent thoughts on this because just how disgusting. But y'all's thoughts.
Well, I think so. The underlying problem. So the church, evangelical church, or just any type of religious institution that deals with power hierarchies, where you have a pastor or a man in a position of power, that and you bring in purity culture on top of it, and you bring in complementarianism, or the belief that women are less than men, or that women are made to please the man, to help the man as the man's helpmate. It's just a breeding ground for abusers. It gives cover for abusers. Like, I grew up in purity culture, and I wasn't assaulted by a pastor or someone in the church, but I was like, my virginity was taken from not my choice in college from a Christian, but because of purity culture, I dealt with that shame, and I thought that was my fault. And the Indiana pastor on Sunday, he, confessed to adultery, and then his victim was in the audience and came up and took the mic and said, "No, I was 16 and you assaulted me." And now, like, I'm just like, she was just now in the last few weeks realizing that she was the victim because she had dealt with shame for the last 27 years, thinking that she was to blame, because you have pastors manipulating and abusing their power. But then when the assault or the abuse does happen, everyone around that finds out, wants to cover it up, because we're taught, one, you don't touch God's anointed, and you don't want a bad image to come on the church, because in their mind, the most important thing is to keeping the image of the church good and squeaky clean, because you don't want people to turn away from the church. You don't want people to turn away from their faith. But in reality, after years and years of covering up, that's what is making people turn away from the faith, because no one is freaking held accountable for anything. And it's just abuse after abuse after abuse. And how many other pastors gave freaking confessions from stage because they quote unquote sinned when their victim wasn't in the audience to tell it straight? Say
that. How many of them got by with telling half truths or just bold-faced lies? Right? Because there was no one to, and can we just pause for a second? Number one, April, anytime you share, your story with us, or share something from your personal life with us, we're super grateful for that and the bravery in that. But also, can we talk about the bravery of this young woman to just march up there and grab the microphone and be like, the fuck, you did have just an affair, right?
She is a hero for like any person who's ever been assaulted. Like, she stood her ground, and just the composure that she had to face her assaulter head on in front of people, and her husband's composure too. Like,
see that guy is my hero now, because I would not have been so kind. I'll just say it that way. I know you don't like it when I talk about punchable faces, but I would not have been as calm. And so his composure is heroic as well, in the sense of, not only could you tell that he just 1,000% was on her side, obviously didn't blame her or hold any, resentment towards her, because of this, but also was just willing to go fight for her and stand in her place as well, or stand with her as well. And I just think there was something really powerful. That couple, namely the woman, though, we need to learn a lot from, because they absolutely set a new standard of, you know what? No, you're not going to continue to stand up there and tell these lies of, oh, I had an affair that went on for far too long. That's all he said. And he just kind of generalized everything. Like, it was about 20 years ago or whatever. She got up and was like, no, motherfucker, it was 27 years ago. I know exactly when it was, because I was 16 years old and you stole my innocence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sorry, that was probably a little bit too impassioned.
So I'm not part of the Baptist church, and I haven't been, but as an outsider in it, I think it can become very easy to watch another denomination going through this and be like, well, I'm glad that's not us. But it's a reflection that this is possible in every denomination, and there are shades of it in every denomination. And this, I was saying to you guys earlier, the seeds of this are planted far before it's in abusive situations like this. It is the culture of churches in how we expect people to make nice the shallow apologies that we allow, the false Christianity that we let to kind of come forward to, not upset people, especially upsetting people who have power or influence or money. And so this exists in all the denominations, even those that are more gender progressive or anything like that. It's everywhere. And so I am always cautious as someone in a different denomination to say, it's not a moment for us to say, oh, thank God that's not us, but to say, where do we need to do better? And where can we learn from this about how, we're lacking transparency or accountability at all stages of ministry.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, and then just there's too many people that view pastors or priests as almost like God themselves. You know, that if a pastor like Ravi Zacharias,
oh my God,
who told women, you pleasing me is like you pleasing God, like God told, like used God to get them to do it. And then be like, don't tell, you can't tell anyone this because like that would hurt God. That would hurt the faith.
Well, I'm sorry, but God's not into secret hand jobs. Like that's not a thing. Like, Jesus tells us, what comes into the light is good because, our works are exposed and it's seen that it's righteous, right? Like, so I'm sorry, but like, again, like, I'm sorry, but bullshit. Like, it has just gotten so out of control, and the SBC has continued to just cover up. And, Elizabeth, you're 1,000% right. Like I think every denomination should have pause with this and look and go, okay, how can we put things in place to make sure that this ain't us? But golly, as kind of as a homer, so to speak, like this is just really difficult to swallow because they're just allowing it to continually happen. And it's not that victims aren't coming forward. That's the thing, right? Like, there are a lot of cases when victims are afraid to come forward. They're in a situation, and I'm sure there are thousands of those as well. So by no stretch am I discrediting that. We are simply talking about a list that has been reported.
And is found to be credible.
Yes. These are abuses we know, like we can point them and peg them on the nose, and they are still being swept under the rug. Shame on every single one of you. Shame on every single one of you.
The thing that like extra pisses me off, like on top of the covering, like that's maddening. But these are the same people who are going off for years. I've always heard this too, that LGBTQ people, that gay people are groomers, that they're the pedophiles with no proof whatsoever, just spewing nonsense while the actual freaking predators are in the pews that they don't even talk about. When proof comes out, when the SBC report came out, there were still people defending the Baptist, defending them. Like, I don't even get it. Like, how you cannot hashtag save the children. You are not pro-life. Like, you only care. No. They only care about money and power and keeping their image. It is not about the children. It is not about protecting people. They don't actually care about. They're the ones grooming children. Like, purity culture is a form of grooming. You are grooming
1,000%. Yeah.
To view themselves as sexual objects. You are grooming boys to view women as sexual objects.
Yeah, 1,000% all day, and that's the thing. Is that they are continually grooming children to be victims of abuse. That is what they are doing inside the SBC. That is the culture that they have created. And, it's the reason why almost a year ago now, I said gasoline, not water on the fire. And I continue to say gasoline, not water, because
It's why our ish got bigger.
it's why spot on. It's why the ish got bigger because
We're just going to be the ish.
Yeah. That's actually pretty good. It's almost like we planned it that way. But although that was never our intent, I find it really interesting, by the way, quick side note only to calm myself down, but quick side note, I find it really interesting. Like, I don't know if you ever go back, April, and listen to like early episodes and how we were still very much like trying to like navigate.
You were still an evangelical pastor.
I was still a pastor at an evangelical church, like full blown, and like, just like we were all just kind of trying to navigate like the space. And like, I think all of us were kind of like, how do we, bring these worlds together or whatever. And then now it's just like, you know what, screw it all. Like just let it burn.
Burn it all down. Yeah. Burn it all down.
The ish cast. I think Paul hit the nail on the head. Ish cast.
God is so much bigger than any of these religions that we have manifested. And like, I feel like, I've seen enough of your guys' content to there is this bigger thing in the world, and man, the church misses the mark some days.
Some days is very generous. Okay. So we're going to do our hate comment of the week at the end.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I'd like to bring just a little bit of humor to a very heavy episode and read some tweets. These are real tweets. Speaking of purity culture, by an account on Twitter. The name of the account is Alpha Masculinity.
Oh, this can't go wrong. There's no way.
And it has biblical masculinity in his bio. So he is a writer on biblical masculinity. So just you're in for a real treat. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to let y'all see the tweets because there's pictures that go along with these. So if you're listening on the podcast, I also made a TikTok about this so you can see the images there. Because some of these got taken down off Twitter for violating rules. So
as they should have.
Yeah, it's real stupid. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay.
The horse tweets, let's go. Somebody said in the comments.
The horse tweets. I know. I'm becoming known as the horse lady because like that was my most viral video in a long time.
Aubrey's like, is this about the horse thing? Shut it down. We're doing the horse thing.
The horse. Everyone knows. Yeah. Oh, hold on. I got to reshare my screen. Share screen.
I'm so excited.
Here we go. All right. Ladies and gents.
Oh, yeah.
And people. Hold on. Let me make sure that I've got this already. This is the first one, and I'm going to read this. And here we go. Alpha masculinity. This is the first tweet. My belief is that women should stay as pure, innocent, clean, and modest as possible with regards to their bodies. They must protect and not spoil it in any way for their future/current husband. Sexual arousal and stimulation not for or from her husband makes a woman filthy. This is a major part of why I believe women should not ride horse, bicycles, or motorbikes. It is weird and disgusting because women are sexually aroused and stimulated by these activities.
Oh.
Most of them having multiple orgasms in these seasons. The other ones are just too ashamed to admit it, but never too ashamed to stop it. The number one reason is the sexual stimulation.
Oh my God.
Women's
genitals are directly in contact and stimulated by the bike, bicycle seat, horse's back/saddle. The bike being a mega vibrator, the road and general movements when riding bicycle, and the obvious rhythmic movements and aggressive touch of genital area during horse riding. The horse is also very large, strong, muscled, powerful, and yes, packing. It acts as a sort of masculine figure women fall in love with and are sexually attracted to. The horse almost always also becomes a platform for sexual validation. A man who allows his wife to ride horse is a man who shares his wife with an animal. I don't even want to mention I don't even want to mention or talk about daters' daughters, because this whole concept is disgusting to think or talk about. If the man rides horse as a hobby for work, as a sport, or whatever else, and wants his wife to join him, she can do so by riding with him in front with her legs together and to the side. In thread. So.
Oh my God.
There's nothing else better.
Kate hit the nail on the head. This man wants to fuck a horse. Like that is.
I think he's in.
Like, it's disgusting to think about. Yes, sir. And you clearly have spent a lot of time thinking about that.
I found a lot of pictures. That's not even all of them. There were a few others in the thread that I was like, I can't waste my time.
Somebody
is. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, somebody else in the comments said, tell me you've never pleased your wife without telling me you've never pleased your
Seriously, when I ride my bicycle, it's mega uncomfortable, not a mega vibrator. So I will say I got a lot of comments that were like, surely this is satire. This guy has to be satire. And I thought he was satire too, because this is the dumbest take I've ever read. But as I read his tweets, I came to the conclusion that he's not, because he was arguing with people and blocking people that were calling him out or like making fun of him. And a media site reached out to me to interview me for my TikTok about this. And in the article, I was reading it, they also reached out to Alpha Masculinity for comment, because they were trying to figure out if it was satire or not too. And the guy asked him whether the exposure he would get from the article would be from, quote, angry liberals and soft men, end quote. And then he
meant it. He meant every word.
And then he turned down the interview.
He meant every word.
That dude is for real.
Yeah, 1,000%. 1,000%. Well, listen, like clearly I absolutely agree with the premise that like this guy has never pleased a woman once in his life. I'm not gonna dive off further into that because whatever.
Does he not think that female horses exist?
Like female horses are like I mean, there's just like there's endless places that you can go with this. Like, I'm surprised you haven't already brought up the vibrator thing, April. Like, because that's your usual go-to with this kind of
vibrator.
Yeah.
Like satire is dead. When that's real, when someone is serious about that,
yeah.
Where do you even how do you even take that further?
Oh, I don't know. Like that one's so ridiculously over the top that it's like, this person's not harmful. They're just, worth laughing at.
Yeah. He's got 19,000 followers on Twitter though.
He has 19,000 followers on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. And he retweets like all the Theo bros.
Yeah, of course he does. Owen Strachan and James White and all those guys.
That jolly guy.
The jolly guy. Yeah. I have a burner account where I follow all those guys to get their shit. Just I'm gonna put it out there like I'm an honest guy. Like
they're not. Are their tweets private?
No, their tweets aren't private, but I got blocked.
Oh, I've been blocked by a few.
My real
you should have just like that. That was a while ago.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, do you expect them to still follow my, progressive ass? Like that's not a thing.
Yeah, so. That's fair. Well, do we want to read our hate comments? Does everyone have a hate comment?
Sure.
Jeremy, do you want to go first?
Yeah, let me sorry, I was pulling it up.
Oh, here, I'll go first. I've got mine. This is from someone, their username is Tim, so I'm assuming a guy. Usually they're from men. Don't know why that is.
Imagine that.
April a Joy, if they put your brain in a bird, it would fly backwards.
That's ridiculous.
I don't even know.
I might start saying that to people. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, the insult is there. Like, it's there.
It doesn't make any sense.
Not even a little bit. I I'm gonna say, like, I can't be shocked even a little bit that, a lot of these hate comments for y'all probably come from men, because men are like, there are days I'm just tired of being a dude. Like, I'm gonna be really honest. Like, it just sucks over here. Like, it's all men and I hate it. Like, anyway, sorry. So Elizabeth, I'm still
All right.
For some reason I lost it.
Do you have yours, Elizabeth?
So I've actually had some really nice people on TikTok recently, but one of my favorite hate comments I've gotten is from Billy Bob something.
Ooh, I recognize that username. I think I've got comments from him before.
Yeah, no, I got it. Yeah.
You are a lost child of the devil, minister of Satan, which is almost a compliment. Like, I feel like that'd be nice on my business card.
Mm-hmm.
Devil, minister of Satan. It's good ring.
Oh, it's solid. Yeah.
That's honest. That you shouldn't put that on a t-shirt. It's pretty. I really do recognize it. I think that guy's called me the Antichrist before, or like Antichrist hair.
Like, I'm just not for people.
That guy makes his rounds. Like, there's a couple of haters, like, you've made it, like, you've kind of arrived as a progressive TikTok creator if you get comments from like these certain individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's definitely a thing.
I feel so famous.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually made a video about my hate comment of the week. Sorry, it took me a second to like pull this all out. I have had more fun with my kids tonight. Like, they have been out for their first week of summer, and then my wife went back to work tonight. My wife's a traveling nurse, and bedtime has been ridiculous tonight. So anyway, all right, I've finally pulled up this comment. It says, I tend to hold a pastor to a higher standard than the average man on the street, one that curses, not a true man of God. I was like, okay,
You disappointed them.
I know. I mean, and then there was some woman that was, she said something about, which I was going to use this one, but she deleted her comment because people started piling on her before I could save it. I meant to screenshot it, but she was like, it was on my post about, all the stuff going on in the world. And she was like, you're not taking our guns. Like, how dare you say that? If you love Jesus, you would love our rights in America. Yeah.
I literally saw a post or like a comment from some lady who was very sincere, and she looked elderly. So, bless her heart. But she was arguing with someone and said, Jesus Christ is the greatest American who ever lived.
Well, I mean, in a way,
Is it? Yeah.
since he's omnipresent. So,
It's weird. Most of the comments that I get now, because I don't know if they've just stopped trying to theologically talk with me, because I just like don't care. But
nice.
It's like men who like want to make some kind of like, they make some kind of comment about how men don't want me. Like, that's their whole insult is that I care about men. And it's like, I bet your husband left you. This is why no man will touch you. This is why you're alone. You would turn any man gay. Like, I get those comments a lot. It's like, even in their insults, they're very them focused.
Well,
and the worst.
Can we just ask this question? Like, why? It's kind of like, I don't really know where to go with this, because it like, men are so obsessed with like women being pleased in sex, but like they suck at it.
No pun intended.
Well, they're not obsessed.
Yeah, no pun intended. Absolutely no pun intended.
They're obsessed with being good enough to please women. It's not actually about women's pleasure. It's about the male performance and his achievement of that. Mm-hmm. I don't think they actually care about women's pleasure.
No. Well, but so and I've been on record on this show saying, like, once we deconstructed, like, purity culture and all of those things, and like, so I've been married almost 14 years now, And probably the first 10 were us just being like engulfed in this disgusting purity culture where we were both like, hesitant about sex and our bodies and like all of that kind of stuff. Obviously that has changed drastically, but, I just like, I don't understand this fascination and like, men sending unsolicited, genital pics, and stuff like that. It's like, dude, like nobody wants that. Like, why are men so obsessed with their own junk?
It's
like,
an odd thing.
It's so weird.
Straight women don't want to see it. Like no one.
That's the thing. It's like what I have literally never. And since I have kind of deconstructed all that, I have had this conversation with a lot of different women. Like no woman ever is like, I want to see a picture of a dick. That's what I want. Like never. Not one.
I mean, I've never thought that.
Right. Because it's like, what is the obsession? Men are just so obsessed and self-absorbed. Like, oh my God. Anyway.
Well, purity culture also gives them permission to be obsessed with sex because they're taught, oh, just boys will be boys. Men have urges that they can't control. And yada, yada, yada. I just have to say, Beecher is my partner who's in the comments. And they said, April doesn't need a man. Horses love her.
She doesn't need a man. She's got a bicycle. Okay. Like,
I need a bicycle.
Got a mega vibrator.
After reading that, I was like, I've been riding my bike wrong. Maybe I need to give it another try.
That would be in such good shape.
Right. Yeah. Women would just constantly be biking everywhere they went. Yeah.
The environment would be great. Less cars. So many problems would be solved.
That's exactly right.
I also saw someone that said, and I can't remember where it was. They in a comment, they said that they want God's not cool with secret hand jobs on a t-shirt.
Oh, I absolutely will make that t-shirt. God's not cool with secret hand jobs. Like he's not. Like, just ask him, pray about it. I promise he'll say no.
When you have to do like small group norms that feel a little silly, like we should all know that like we should take turns to talk and be respectful of our space. It feels like the thing that ends up on the norms list that like you really shouldn't have to say. For some reason, something happened that we have to say God's not okay with secret hand jobs.
Yeah. Why do I have to tell adults that, you need to keep your hands and feet to yourself? Also, why do I have to tell adults that God's not okay with secret hand jobs?
Why do I have to tell
list? It's fine.
Why do I have to say that I've never experienced an orgasm on a bicycle?
That sucks. I mean, listen, you're just not, apparently you're just not riding the bike right. Because
God has not blessed you.
It was a forgettable ride.
It was a forgettable ride. Said every married one ever. Yeah, we were there, but I just, I mean, now I know, why my wife doesn't bike, 50 miles to work. Like, like I was like, I saw those tweets and I thought, well, why isn't she riding her bike all the way, out of town?
Seriously.
Apparently that was ill-informed information. So.
All right, Elizabeth, tell everyone where they can find you online.
Yes,
on that note,
pull us out of this like ridiculous hole that
I know
we're
this
in.
is
cool. Yeah. My congregation's gonna love this. So I am the rector at Emmanuel Episcopal Church on Mercer Island. You can find me on TikTok at the Rev Riley, where I'm saying all sorts of things about Jesus and church and whatnot.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for being here with us, Elizabeth.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
By the way, do y'all have online service? Because I know there's always folks inside of our community that are looking for somewhere to connect online. Like, so can they watch live on Facebook, YouTube, that kind of thing?
Absolutely. We stream on YouTube most Sundays when someone is there to run the computer. And then that gets pushed to Facebook, I think. So yeah, you can find us on there, and my sermons are on there. We, every Sunday, 8 and 10 o'clock. Though we'll switch to our summer schedule at 9 a.m. And then sometimes I will do live services on TikTok, do some live rage prayer services and whatnot. So you can find those there.
Awesome. And then on quick plug for you as well. On June 12th, Elizabeth is actually preaching for me on the Speakeasy Project, our online community. So she'll be sharing the message, and that'll be 10 o'clock a.m. Central, as well as 8:30 p.m. Central. So she'll be sharing twice those two sessions on Speakeasy. So for those of you who are involved in Speakeasy, she'll be sharing on June 12th while I take a week off for my anniversary. So I'm super excited about that.
I'm excited to be there.
So, well, all right. We are grateful for each and every single one of you. Thankful for all of you who download the podcast. If you haven't already, go ahead and rate us 5 stars. And then if you would, write a review. Tell people why they should be a part of Evangelicalish. Share this stream. Put it on your social media. Put it on your Facebook. Enrage your conservative friends. It's totally fine. They'll be good. Anyway, otherwise, love God, love people passionately. We will see you next week for April and Elizabeth. I'm Jeremy. We love you. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.